Good, you're back. I'm Neom, and we've all woken up to some unpleasant things. Fire alarms, cats trying to suffocate you, Jehovah's Witness on the graveyard shift, but none of those things come within a hair's width of the Phantom Barber of Pascagoula. The word of the day is tonsorial, relating to haircutting or barbering. It's 1942 in a sleepy little town of 5,000 on the coast of the Mississippi. World War II tensions are high, Pearl Harbor was fresh on the mind of the American, and the windows of coastal homes were laden with blackout curtains to prevent detection from enemy aircraft. The last thing people needed was someone sneaking into their homes to steal their valuables. And thankfully, that didn't happen. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more, ring the... Wait. What's that? People's homes were broken into? But they didn't get their valuables stolen. The thief was stealing... what? On the morning of June 5th, two young girls, Mary Evelyn Briggs and Edna Marie Hydel, woke up early as they always did, to go down and eat the breakfast that Mom had made as she always did, and listen to Dad curse the Nazis as he always did. What didn't always happen was Mother shrieking in an uproar when she saw the two girls emerge from their room, and Dad change his tune and curse the Japanese for once, which that part is unrelated, but it adds some nice flavor. What Mom saw would have made any doting mother cringe with horror. At first glance, it appeared that the two young girls, caught up in youthful imprudence as they always were, had taken turns whacking at each other's hair strings with an edged weapon of some description. But after a small investigation at the scene of the crime, noting the angle at which the hair had been cut off, the lack of any hair to be found, and whether or not Mercury was in retrograde, Mom was forced to believe the girls' insistence that their respective and unfortunate haircuts had not been their own doing. Every single bit of this story so far has been completely accurate, with no assumptions or frivolous jokes tossed about, and is entirely based on historical record. But one can only imagine what went through that mother's mind when she realized what must have happened. Someone had broken into their home, unnoticed and unmolested, not stolen or damaged anything, had beheld the locks upon the crowns of the lasses, and then simply retreated, hair in hand. What kind of creep breaks into someone's home just to cut and steal their hair? She shouted in vain to the local constabulary. At first, they were doubtless hesitant to believe her, but she must have prevailed upon them to at least write a report. It turned out that Mary Evelyn Briggs had actually seen the perpetrator, or so she claimed, describing him to police as sorta short, sorta fat, and wearing a white sweatshirt. But this information didn't prove to be too useful, partially because it came from the bedarkened eyes of a frightened and uncertain young girl, and partly because this described every Reddit mod on record, all of whom were already prime suspects anyway. Apparently, though, this braid bandit wasn't quite through. 3 more victims appeared, different houses, different nights, and the police had to take matters more seriously. Theories were abundant. Some thought it was a mere prankster, others a creep with a fetish. Some even thought it was a Nazi spy come to sow discord and suspicion, because nothing says Third Reich like a crappy haircut. But there was something strange about this intruder, aside from the whole snip and dip thing. They only ever struck on a Monday or Friday night. No one ever found out why, but around that same time, again on a Friday night, the home of Mr. and Mrs. Heidelberg was broken into. Only this time, violence ensued. Both individuals sustained blows on the head and lost teeth from what they would later say might have been a heavy metal pipe, and the husband was even knocked unconscious. It didn't seem that the intruder was after hair anymore. Of course, it was never proven that this event was connected to the hair bandit, and it could have simply been an isolated case of burglary. The Heidelbergs didn't see the intruder due to the darkness of night and the blackout curtains, but investigation led to the police digging up one William Dolan. The cloud of suspicion landed on Dolan after officials found shears and some hair trimmings in his yard. Pretty condemning evidence, and Dolan was sentenced to 10 years in the can. Surprisingly though, most people didn't believe that the cops had got their man, and Dolan himself, of course, pled innocent. Why would someone obviously skilled at discreet breaking and entering and possessing a fixation on hair collection suddenly walk directly into the victim's room and very unsubtly attack them? Some other notable differences were that the haircutting had always been performed on young girls, and in every case except for Mary Evelyn Briggs and Edna Marie Hydel, chloroform had been used to ensure the victims remained asleep. No such caution was exercised in the intrusion of the Heidelberg home. William Dolan was tried and found guilty of the attack on Mr. and Mrs. Heidelberg, but not of the invasions of hair and home. DNA testing had not been invented yet, and there just wasn't enough evidence to convict him. One is led to wonder why hair and shears were found in his yard if he wasn't the perp. And the case gets even stranger 9 years later. Dolan had served the majority of his sentence when he passed a lie detector test that he had not committed the acts of violence he had been convicted of. Was Dolan really responsible for these crimes? Were they even committed by the same person? The whole thing is a slew, and it's unlikely that we'll ever know for certain. The takeaway from this tale may not be obvious at first, but if you think about it long enough and hard enough, and maybe put your thoughts into words in the form of a comment, I think you'll all agree that the moral of the story is this. If you're in the middle of a war and are being forced to use blackout curtains, at least leave the closet light on. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Subscribe for more, ring the bell, and comment what you want to learn about next. I'm Neon, and I'll see you next time.